Strength is born in silence, in the hidden moments where the world is absent and no applause can be heard. These are the hours when the battle is fought not on visible stages, but deep inside the human spirit. A woman who rebuilds herself alone understands this truth intimately. She does not rise when others are watching. She rises in the stillness of her private storms, when surrender whispers softly and no one would blame her for giving up. Yet she chooses otherwise. It is in that choice, repeated over and over in silence, that her true power takes form. When the weight of loss presses against her chest, when betrayal leaves her questioning her worth, when exhaustion tries to convince her to stop fighting, there is no audience to witness the struggle. No one sees her wipe the tears that fall in the quiet of midnight. No one hears the trembling in her breath as she gathers the courage to face another day. These unseen battles are where strength is forged. For strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the decision to stand again while weakness still lingers in the bones. In silence, she learns what the noise of the world often hides. She learns that survival is not a gift handed over by others, it is a skill carved from resilience. She learns that every time she refuses to surrender, even when no one is cheering, she adds another brick to the fortress of her spirit. Silence does not diminish her, it sharpens her. It removes the distractions, the false affirmations, and the shallow validations. It leaves her alone with herself, with the raw question, will you rise or will you give in? And in choosing to rise, she answers it with undeniable certainty. The moments that define her strength are rarely dramatic. They are often small, almost invisible acts of defiance. Waking up on mornings when despair feels heavier than her body. Choosing to believe in her worth when memories of rejection echo loudly. Taking a single step forward when her heart insists she has no strength left. These actions do not create headlines, they do not attract attention, but they are the lifeblood of her power. Strength is not loud, it is quiet persistence that refuses to die. Silence becomes her ally. It gives her space to rebuild without interference, to heal without explanation, to grow without performance. In that silence, she learns to trust her inner voice, the one that insists she is stronger than she thinks. She hears her fears, but she does not obey them. She hears her doubts, but she does not let them lead. Instead, she finds clarity in the stillness, a clarity that tells her survival is not enough. She is meant to rise beyond it. The world may only see her when she has already rebuilt, when her smile has returned and her steps are steady. They may admire her confidence, her grace, her resilience, but they will never fully understand that her power was shaped in the dark corners where no one was watching. They will never see the countless times she had to whisper to herself, keep going, when everything inside begged her to stop. Her power is not in what the world sees, but in the unseen decisions that kept her alive, kept her moving, and kept her believing. The silence that once felt like loneliness transforms into the birthplace of her strength. It is where she breaks and rebuilds, falls and rises, doubts and chooses faith again. In silence, she is stripped of everything but herself, and it is there she discovers that she is enough. Strength is not given, it is not borrowed, it is not gifted by another soul. It is created moment by moment in the solitude where surrender could have been the easier choice, but was never the chosen one. Pain becomes blueprint, not a chain to drag her backward, but a map that guides her forward. Every scar she carries is not just a reminder of suffering, it is a piece of architecture in the structure she is building. When a woman chooses to rebuild herself alone, she does not erase her pain or deny its presence. Instead, she studies it, she understands it, and she allows it to shape the foundation of the life she is creating. The broken pieces that once threatened to bury her become bricks in the walls of her strength. The wounds that once silenced her become openings for wisdom to enter. Pain has a way of forcing clarity. When everything is shattered, when comfort has been stripped away, she learns what matters and what does not. The betrayals that left her bleeding teach her the value of trust and the danger of giving it blindly. The losses that hollowed her out reveal the truth of impermanence, showing her that nothing external can ever define her worth. The rejections that once bruised her spirit awaken in her a deeper resilience, one that no approval or disapproval from the world can shake. Each blow, each break, each scar becomes more than memory. It becomes instruction. She does not use her pain as an excuse to remain broken. She uses it as raw material. Where others see ruins, she sees a construction site. The H in her chest becomes the reminder that she has a heart still willing to feel, still capable of love. The nights spent in tears become proof that she endured what should have destroyed her. The silence after loss becomes the training ground where she learns to listen to her own voice. Pain is not wasted, it is repurposed. Every scar has a story, and she learns to read those stories not with bitterness but with reverence. The scar across her trust reminds her of the moment she gave too much of herself away, and it teaches her boundaries. The scar across her dreams shows her where she once settled for less, and it pushes her to demand more. The scar across her confidence reveals where she doubted herself, and it drives her to rise without apology. Each scar, no matter how deep, is integrated into her design. She does not cover them with shame, she builds with them, shaping them into pillars of her strength. The broken pieces are not weaknesses, they are fragments of her becoming. A shattered heart sharpens her compassion, making her kinder but never knave. A broken promise hardens her wisdom, making her cautious but never closed. A failed attempt strengthens her persistence, making her strategic but never hopeless. She takes these pieces and lays them carefully, one by one, until what once looked like rubble becomes the framework of a woman reborn. Rebuilding with pain as blueprint is not easy. It requires patience, courage, and a refusal to lie to herself. She must look at the cracks without flinching, must acknowledge the weight of what she has endured without minimizing it. But in doing so, she discovers a power more enduring than comfort. Pain that was once unbearable becomes the very reason she is unshakable. She realizes she has survived what should have ended her, and that survival is not passive, it is active creation. The architecture of her new self is stronger because it has been tested. Walls built from pain do not crumble easily. They have already survived the storm. The foundation laid in suffering does not sink, it has already held the weight of despair. The design shaped by scars is not fragile, it carries the memory of battles fought and won. Pain becomes blueprint not because it defines her limits, but because it reveals her capacity. And when she finally stands within the life she has rebuilt, she knows every scar is not a mark of weakness, but a signature of strength that guided her construction. Loneliness turns into leadership when she learns that walking alone does not mean being lost, it means being refined. At first, solitude feels heavy, a weight pressing against her chest, reminding her of the absence of voices she once depended on. The silence is deafening, the emptiness unfamiliar, and the path ahead seems endless. Yet as the days pass, something begins to shift. What once felt like punishment becomes a training ground. In her solitude, she begins to see with clarity what was hidden in the noise. Loneliness sharpens her vision, forcing her to look inward and discover the leader she never knew was waiting to emerge. Walking alone strips her of illusions. When no one is there to tell her what to do, she must make her own decisions. She cannot rely on the safety of consensus or the comfort of guidance. She must listen to her instincts, trust her reasoning, and own her choices. At first, doubt creeps in. What if she is wrong? What if she fails? What if she regrets? But then she realizes that mistakes are not her enemy. Each wrong turn teaches her something about the terrain. Each stumble strengthens her balance. Each setback refines her courage. In leading herself, she learns that leadership is not about perfection, but about persistence. Loneliness teaches her responsibility. With no one else to blame, she accepts full ownership of her life. She recognizes that her happiness, her growth, and her future are not dependent on someone else's presence. They are her work, her craft, her creation. She learns to set goals not because others expect them, but because her soul demands them. She learns to discipline herself not because someone is watching, but because she refuses to let herself down. Leadership begins here, in the private promises she keeps to herself, in the integrity she upholds even when no one is looking. Walking alone also gives her vision. Free from the clutter of other people's opinions, she can finally hear her own voice clearly. She notices the patterns of her thoughts, the rhythm of her desires, the whisper of her purpose. She begins to understand what she truly wants, not what she was told to want. In solitude, she learns to separate borrowed dreams from her authentic ones. That clarity becomes her compass, guiding her decisions and shaping her future with intention. Loneliness hardens her strength, but softens her empathy. She knows what it feels like to be unseen, to be unheard, to carry burdens without acknowledgement. This experience plants in her the seed of compassion. When she eventually leads others, she does not lead with arrogance or entitlement. She leads with understanding. She recognizes struggle in others because she has wrestled with it herself. She respects independence in others because she has fought for her own. She values voices because she knows what it means to be silenced. The transition from loneliness to leadership is not sudden, it is gradual, built day by day. She wakes up and learns to motivate herself. She falls and learns to encourage herself. She succeeds and learns to celebrate herself. These practices become habits, and those habits become qualities of a leader. She realizes that if she can guide herself through darkness, she can guide others too. If she can stand firm in isolation, she can stand stronger in unity. Her leadership does not come from authority, but from authenticity, from having walked the path herself before asking anyone else to follow. What once felt like abandonment becomes preparation. The silence that once frightened her becomes the soil where her wisdom grows. The emptiness that once hurt her becomes the space where her purpose takes root. Loneliness, once her greatest weakness, transforms into her greatest strength. It teaches her the most essential truth: the leader is not someone who demands followers, but someone who first learns to lead themselves with courage, clarity, and conviction. Self-reliance, faith in her own becoming, is the quiet fire that carries her through seasons of doubt, through storms of uncertainty, and through the long nights when no one is there to reassure her. She does not wait for validation, for the applause of others, or for the permission of the world to believe in who she is becoming. She understands that growth is not always visible, that transformation often happens in silence, beneath the surface where no one else can see. And so, she believes in herself piece by piece, not because others confirm it, but because she knows the woman she is building deserves her own trust long before anyone else recognizes her. Faith begins in the small choices. She decides to try again after failure, even when the memory of defeat lingers in her chest. She chooses to dream bigger even when past disappointments warn her to stay safe. She invests in her healing, her growth, and her future, even when no one claps for her effort. These choices may seem small, but together they form the foundation of her becoming. Each act of self-belief is a brick laid in the architecture of the woman she is destined to be. There are moments when doubt attacks her from all directions. The world whispers that she is not enough, that she is too broken, too late, too unworthy. Old wounds echo with voices that once dismissed her, undervalued her, or tried to silence her. But she learns to quiet the noise, to remind herself that validation from others is fleeting, while faith in herself is eternal. She repeats to herself that she is allowed to grow at her own pace, to change in her own rhythm, and to become in her own time. This inner faith keeps her steady when external approval is nowhere to be found. She understands that becoming is not instant. It is not one dramatic moment of transformation, but a series of patient steps, a layering of lessons, a slow unveiling of strength. Some days she feels unstoppable, other days she feels like she is crumbling. Yet even in the moments of weakness, she does not abandon herself. She holds on to the belief that every stage of her journey matters, that even the hard days are shaping her, that even the stumbles are carving out resilience in her soul. Her faith does not demand perfection, it simply demands persistence. Believing in herself means refusing to shrink. It means stepping into opportunities without waiting for someone to tell her she is ready. It means voicing her truth even when her voice shakes. It means setting boundaries even when people resist them. It means carrying herself with dignity even when others fail to see her worth. She knows that the woman she is building deserves to be honored, not hidden. And so, she walks forward with quiet confidence, trusting that her future self will thank her for every step taken today. Piece by piece, she gathers the fragments of who she was and shapes them into who she is becoming. From her pain, she builds compassion. From her failures, she builds wisdom. From her scars, she builds strength. From her loneliness, she builds independence. She does not discard her past, she weaves it into her becoming. Her faith allows her to see beauty where others see only brokenness, potential where others see only loss. The power of her faith lies in its refusal to wait. She does not wait for someone to validate her dreams, to approve her vision, to confirm her worth. She does not wait until she is finished to believe in herself. She believes now, while she is still building, while she is still learning, while she is still healing. This faith is not blind. It is deeply rooted in the knowledge that she has survived what should have ended her, and that survival itself is evidence of her becoming. Faith in her own becoming is not about who she already is, but about who she is choosing to be every day. It is the trust that the woman she is shaping with patience, resilience, and courage is already alive within her, waiting to be revealed. Piece by piece, she moves forward, carrying not the weight of others' expectations, but the strength of her own belief, and that belief is enough to carry her all the way. Is her armor, forged not from ease but from necessity, from the countless times she had no one to call, no one to catch her, no one to fight on her behalf. She learns, sometimes painfully, that the world does not always provide safety nets. Promises can be broken, support can vanish, and even those who once swore to stay may walk away. In the face of abandonment and disappointment, she discovers something unshakable within herself, the ability to rise without being carried. It is not a lesson she sought, but it becomes the lesson that saves her. To stand without leaning is not the same as being cold or unfeeling. It means she has built the strength to remain upright even when her knees are trembling, even when every instinct inside begs her to collapse. She teaches herself to breathe through panic, to keep moving through exhaustion, and to find solutions where there seem to be none. She may once have believed she needed someone else to rescue her, but life shows her that she is capable of saving herself. That realization becomes her shield, a quiet armor invisible to others but essential to her survival. To fight without backup is to accept that some battles are hers alone. There are wars of the soul no one else can enter, struggles too personal for others to carry. When doubt creeps in, when fear whispers in her ear, when grief pulls at her chest, no army of friends or family can take those blows for her. She learns to stand on the battlefield of her own heart, to swing with determination even when no one is there to cheer her on. Each battle won in solitude strengthens her resolve. Each victory, no matter how small, teaches her that she is her own fiercest warrior. Trusting her own resilience is perhaps the most transformative part of her journey. At first, she does not know she is strong. She doubts her abilities, questions her worth, fears her limits. But every time she survives what she thought she could not, her faith in herself deepens. She remembers the night she thought she would not endure, and yet the sun still rose with her still standing. She recalls the moment when heartbreak threatened to consume her, and yet she discovered joy again. These memories are not just experiences. They are proof. Proof that her resilience is not imagined, but real, and that it can be trusted. Self-reliance does not make her hard, it makes her whole. It does not close her off from love or connection, but it ensures that her identity does not depend on them. She can welcome others into her life without needing them to complete her. She can accept help when it is offered, but she does not crumble if it is not. She becomes her own safe place, her own steady foundation, her own unwavering support. This independence does not isolate her, it frees her. Her armor is not made of steel or stone, but of choices. The choice to rise again after failure, the choice to believe in herself when others doubted her, the choice to walk forward when her path was unclear. Each decision adds a layer of protection, not to shield her from the world, but to remind her she can endure it. Self-reliance is not about avoiding vulnerability, it is about knowing that even in her most vulnerable state, she can survive. When she looks back, she sees the countless times she thought she needed saving and realizes she was saving herself all along. The tears she wiped with her own hands, the night she comforted her own soul, the days she motivated herself to keep moving, these were her training. She has become her own protector, her own provider, her own warrior. And with that realization, she walks through life armored not by fear, but by unshakable trust in her own resilience. Rebirth is her revolution, the moment when survival no longer defines her, and she steps into transformation that feels almost unrecognizable to the woman she once was. Healing is not her final destination, because healing simply closes wounds. She goes further. She rises from those wounds with a new identity, a new strength, a new presence that the old pain would not even know how to confront. Her rebirth is not about returning to who she was before the breaking, because that version of her no longer exists. It is about becoming someone entirely new, someone stronger, wiser, and freer than she ever imagined. Shedding her old self is not easy. The past clings tightly, whispering reminders of her pain, her mistakes, her losses. There are moments when the scars tug at her, threatening to pull her back into old patterns. But she resists not because she is untouched by her history, but because she has chosen to rise beyond it. She does not erase what happened to her. She transforms it into fuel. What once defined her as broken now defines her as unbreakable. What once held her captive now propels her forward. This shift, this conscious refusal to remain the same, becomes the spark of her revolution. Rebirth begins in the smallest of decisions. It is the choice to forgive herself for staying too long in places that hurt her. It is the choice to see her scars not as ugly reminders, but as badges of survival. It is the choice to open her heart again, not in ignorance of the risks, but in defiance of the fear that tried to close it. Each choice, each act of courage lays the foundation of the woman she is becoming. She rises not in one dramatic moment, but in countless small moments of resilience. Her transformation is not quiet. It radiates in her presence. The old pain, if it were to see her now, would not recognize her. It would not understand the fire in her eyes, the steadiness in her steps, the calm in her voice. It would not know how the same woman who once wept in despair now walks with a strength that needs no validation. It would not recognize how the same heart once broken now beats with even greater love, not because it has forgotten the hurt, but because it has chosen to expand beyond it. Rebirth is also liberation. She no longer measures her worth by what was lost or who walked away. She no longer defines herself by the circumstances that tried to bury her. Instead, she defines herself by what she has built from the ashes. She carries herself with a power that does not come from arrogance but from survival. She has faced her darkness and walked through it, and that journey has given her a light that cannot be dimmed. Her revolution lies in her refusal to stay small. She does not shrink to fit the version of herself others once knew. She does not apologize for her growth or her strength. She allows herself to take up space, to speak with conviction, to move boldly toward her vision. The woman she is now does not beg to be seen. She radiates in such a way that she cannot be ignored. This rebirth is not just for her. It ripples outward. Her transformation becomes a silent permission slip for others who are still buried in their pain. She becomes living proof that destruction is not the end, that from devastation can emerge brilliance, and that the deepest wounds can produce the most powerful warriors. She embodies hope without preaching it, courage without boasting it, resilience without needing to prove it. Rebirth is her revolution because it is not passive healing, it is radical transformation. She does not simply recover, she reinvents. She does not simply return, she rises. She's not simply meant, she becomes. And the woman she is now is not just stronger than her past, she is untouchable by it because she has turned it into the very force that gave birth to her new self.